Alright guys, we have some even more excellent news for Black Myth Wukong. It seems that the developers are really confident in their game, which is why the reviews are coming out 4 days in advance. We have a new free benchmark tool that you can go ahead and download right now, as well as a bunch of info on the game's replayability and a lot of supposed leaks. So lots to talk about in this video, and let's get started. Also, to celebrate the launch, I'm giving away a full-on deluxe edition of the game available on all platforms. You just have to be a subscriber of the channel, like the video, and also leave a comment down below. The winner will be announced a couple of days before the game comes out. Anyway, if you haven't done so already, I suggest you go ahead and download the benchmark tool right now. It's available on Steam for absolutely free, and you can just check out if your system can actually run the game or not. This is, by the way, going to be the menu screen right here. This is the first screen you're going to see when you get in the full game, and I'm surprised that they actually let us check out different graphical settings, turn on and off options that we're going to have in the full game, so you can better see which of these options your system can actually carry when you do get the full game. By the way, full disclosure, I absolutely love the environmental shots that we get during the benchmark testing. This game, I mean, looks absolutely gorgeous, and none of the videos on YouTube do it justice. The compression just completely obliterates the quality, but when you watch this full on your system, it looks absolutely amazing. Lots of detail, lots of vegetation, environments are really amazing. So with all of this, the benchmark tool said that I was running at an average of 100 FPS, with 87 being the lowest and 126 being the highest, which is not too shabby. Of course, my PC is pretty high-end. We have a 4090, a 12th gen i9, about 32 gigs of RAM. However, I'm not sure exactly if this is going to hold true in combat moments when you spam abilities and when things generally tend to drop in FPS, or if this is going to be a constant. I'm assuming that it's going to maybe go a bit lower than that, but even so, it's still good FPS, considering I went with max graphical settings on the cinematic setting. Also pretty much everything on high, including that RTX, which was also set on the maximum possible, well, setting. The only difference is that I only set this to 1440p in terms of display resolution. So if I were to go on 4K, yeah, that FPS would probably go down drastically, maybe to a third of what I had right here. I've seen some of the other people also posting it on similar specs. They were running with like 30, 40 FPS max, which is to be expected, but again, just test it on your system and let me know down below. But in the meantime, we do have some really excellent news from, well, not really developers, but from people who got early review codes of the game. Of course, as you may or may not know, we are about to get one as well. But in the meantime, the bigger outlets already got theirs over the weekend, because, yeah, it seems that the reviews are about to drop on the 16th of August, full 4 days before the game comes out. This was pretty much confirmed by Tom Henderson over on Twitter, which is the owner of Insider Gaming, one of the bigger like news outlets who also cover games in general. But only for the PC version. The PS5 review codes are actually going to go out, I believe, 1 day before the game comes out, maybe because it still needs a bit of optimization, or who knows, they just want to get the PC version tested out first. But still, this tells me that they are very confident in the game coming out. This is typically not something that you see with most of the games out there, only maybe with the Sony first party titles that get a review like 4 to 5, even 7 days ahead of launch. So I'm really glad that there's actually confidence in this game coming out on the 20th, with reviews coming up. Of course, we're gonna have the reviews on the channel as well, hopefully on the 16th. Also good to note is that the developers confirmed that the game will launch around the same hour globally on all available platforms, so August 20th at 10 AM UTC +8 on PS5, Steam, Epic Games Store, and Wii Games. So yeah, pretty much just take that hour right there and convert it to your own time zone to see exactly at what time you're going to have access to the game. Plus, I believe that, yeah, the preview and the preloads of the game are already out, so you can already download the game, at least on the PlayStation 5. Now, we also have a bunch of other information on the game's replayability. This is, of course, again, courtesy to Insider Gaming. It seems that the full list of all of the available achievements in the game are already out. Now, I have blurred these in case you don't want to see them or don't want to get any spoilers, but it does seem to enforce the idea or reinforce the idea that you're going to need multiple playthroughs to finish the full game, which is actually really reassuring. We do know that there were rumors about a new game plus being available on launch, so this giving you more incentives to go out there and play the game again, do some replayability, definitely has a high mark from me. On top of that, we also seem to have a bunch of leaks going on right now, though it's very hard to distinguish the genuine leaks from the fake ones. So I'm just not going to show you any of them, but it does seem that quite a number of users pretend to show leaked gameplay footage when in fact it's only the 2023 China demo gameplay that people were able to test out back last year. So if you're seeing any footage of screens being filmed by like phone cameras and whatnot, that's probably from the 2023 demo that we had back last year, especially if it's of levels that are already familiar. So nothing new under the sun over there. However, there were a few leaks over there discussing about the length of the game, about some of the aspects of the combat, which again, I'm not going to spoil because I don't want to get completely nuked out of the stratosphere. However, 2024 and beyond definitely seems to be the year for Chinese developers. I really want to see more of Chinese mythology in video games, and it seems that a lot of other developers are picking up the pace as well. Not only is Black Myth Wukong the top seller right now on Steam, but it also seems that other developers are following suit with other ambitious games. We already know about Phantom Blade Zero, which also looks awesome, and I cannot wait for the full launch on that. But in the meantime, we do have this interview with the games director for Phantom Blade Zero, who did mention several times that the release of Black Myth Wukong is a breakthrough moment for China, and it actually goes in to explain why Black Myth Wukong is so important and why it succeeding is going to cause a whole wave of other Chinese developers to follow suit with specific AAA games, especially for the PlayStation 5 and for the PC, not just MMOs or mobile games like how it was up until recently. So in that recent Games Radar interview, he mentioned how he expects the upcoming action RPG Black Myth Wukong to be a watershed moment for Chinese game developers. There are many of them coming out of China, such as Black Myth Wukong and the ones from HoYoverse, which we know that they absolutely smashed it with Genshin Impact, and then with some of their other games. We're now merging. It's like a bridge to different cultures and different systems. And he also goes on to explain how developers, at least in the Chinese market, are shifting away from mobile games to console and PC games, like we saw with Phantom Blade Zero. We also saw with Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact was pretty much described to be like the opener for all other developers who are now also jumping into this, well, you can call it trend pretty much, but it's a paradigm shift, and I'm all up for it. I do want to see more of the Chinese mythology and all the things that Chinese developers have in store. There's definitely a lot of talent over there. And also during our conversation, Liang repeatedly goes back to the topic of Black Myth Wukong. It definitely seems like he really respects the developers as a sort of harbinger of what's to come from Chinese developers. I think Black Myth Wukong will be a big hit. There are more to come. I think they'll all be very successful, and I think that's the trend. It's definitely the beginning. So yeah, lots of things in the balance over here. Obviously, there's quite a bit of pressure on Black Myth Wukong as well to succeed and become a hit. Hopefully, they manage to do so. There are some strong indications that they might even pull it off. But it seems that its success both in the domestic market and the international markets are going to give or not give confidence to other Chinese developers to follow suit with their own games. Though I think that long term, probably there's a lot more to follow, despite of how Black Myth Wukong is going to behave, if it becomes a hit or not, or if it scores high or not. I think that this could possibly become a game that might be universally praised by the players, but maybe not as much with the bigger media outlets. But they kind of already showed their face, kind of tried to spin the narrative in a different direction, definitely showed their bias, especially in terms of IGN. So I'm really expecting a boycotting campaign eventually, but who knows, maybe IGN will come into its senses and yeah, just review the game fairly. In the meantime, this is it with the news. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.